this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you. I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
I do this for the kids who sit a bit outside the mix, who maybe cope through humor just to fit in for a bit, who never let the world know when depression's setting in. To all of those who know you, that impression don't exist, and it ain't counterfeit, it's just a way to counter it. I'm living things I dreamed about, I still encounter it. It ain't something that a cigarette or alcohol can fix, but all because of it I flipped it quick, went on to write some hits. This a success, off another breath. This the first step in searching to be nothing less than be the best in what you do, to prove their strength in being you. Learn so much in chasing dreams that I never would in school. Depends on where your passion lie, just no passion never lie. Life presents distractions, but your actions have to fortify the things that you believe in. Have to scream it like a battle cry, and leave the ones who didn't looking stupid while they're asking why. Couldn't lie, I really do this for the ones I love, those who treat the music as a vice and lyrics like a drug, those who need advice on how to lift their spirit high enough to break out of the box they make of lives they know aren't good enough. Just because it's how it is don't mean it's how it has to be. This is what the uninspired testifiers fail to see. Jealousy results from being that which others fail to be, and if it means you're not with me, that honestly sounds fair to me.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
Do this for my mother, she'll be working for the summer. Do this for my father, cause these days I often wonder what my life would have been like if I was not adopted. To grow up in a home where I was treated like a problem, I don't know, it's just a guess. Your guess probably good as mine. Lucky that I grew up in a home that wanted me to shine. Lucky that I grew up around some mountains we were taught to climb. Without that inspiration, I don't think that this would be my life. Do this for my friends who've scattered all across the country now. I'm out in Sweden walking back through life so I can write it down. Make a living off the sound, so crazy to say out loud. I'm the biggest thing since Travis Rice to come up out the town. Sorry, gotta stunt a little. Used to have my dreams belittled, but it's all a part of it. I know people's minds are fickle, lines between reality and dreams I blur like faded nights. Come up been so good for me, I wish that I could make it twice.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
There we go, y'all. What up? Shout out to my pops. I do this for you. Thank you guys for being here on this Thursday night. If you hear some cooking in the background, it's because the beautiful Kim Jones is in the kitchen that I provide, tearing it up, making me some sticky chicken. Is that what it's called, sweetie? Yes. Sticky chicken. I have no idea what that is. Sounds mighty white of her, but I appreciate it. As a Mexican man, I'm being exposed to all these different things she makes. It's a wonderful feeling. The house smells like love and chicken and just warmth, bruh. So I'm not mad at all. I'm sitting over here happy as hell. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that I get to do this for a living. I appreciate each and every one of you that make this possible. Shout out to you guys for being here on a Thursday night. You guys know the deal. Thursday, it is SEC Thursday. We only talk about SEC time. I want to make this very clear. SEC fans hate me. SEC fans hate me. If you don't know, I only wear 3 shirts from college football teams. 1 LSU shirt, 1 South Carolina shirt, and 1 Georgia Bulldog shirt. 3 SEC shirts is all I own in support of college football. Yet I'm called an SEC hater. I praise all these young men in Georgia high school football who are probably going to go on to play for SEC schools. Yet I'm called an SEC hater. I don't understand it. I back everything the SEC does. I believe in them to the fullest. One of the worst conferences in America. The worst thing about the SEC is obviously ESPN, the propaganda they spew, the way they influence preseason polls, influence young men all across the world. They've been sitting here brainwashing our youth their entire adult lives, or their entire lives, I should say. And it's unfortunate because they don't know anything else. They just grew up and as soon as they came out the womb, they just saw Florida winning national titles and Bama beating Clemson over and over and over. That's all these kids know. But it's time to teach them something else. Thanks for being here tonight. Let's go. If you can read the ticker at the bottom, for the 2023 football season, I am 37-13 in my predictions against the spread or the over-under. I have ignored all money line predictions for that stat. You can go back, find all the videos, put it together. These guys do. I'm digging really deep. He missed on all his locks. And then they'll go, he was 7 for 7 on his locks. Well, it sounds like you should have bet the 7 hits and not the 7 misses. But you also missed the other 6 predictions I put out during the live streams. Thank you guys for being here. You're not going to miss them. So it is what it is. First and foremost, the big news of the day. You guys see it right there. Coach Prime. We're giving Coach Prime locker room billboard material. It is SEC Thursday, but let's talk about this. Jay Norvell, who I love as a coach, if you guys don't know, former head coach at Nevada, did great things with Nevada, had them winning games, doing amazing things in the recruiting process, developing players. Shout out to Carson Strong and Romeo Dobbs. Shout out to Horton, his current wide receiver, just transferred over, Torrey Horton, leaving Nevada, going to Colorado State. And I'll get into that, but the reality is I'm going to get into that matchup tomorrow. But Jay Norvell knows what he's doing. Jay Norvell's trying to get under the skin of a coach, trying to make it a rivalry, trying to get people to care, watch it. Man, we're going to set some records for people watching a late-night game. I believe it's 8 p.m. Eastern. What I'll tell you guys, it might even be 9 Eastern. We're going to be waiting for that game all day. But what I'll tell you guys is very simple. No amount of talking between these two coaches is going to impact the game. People can pretend it's going to impact, it's going to motivate, Colorado by 50, and everybody's talking like this. Look, Colorado can't beat Colorado State by 50 because Colorado State can score. That's the reality of the situation. Whether you believe that or not, whether you've assessed the rosters, I have. I know the players on both teams. I've sat down and looked at it, and I said, oh, man, these guys can score. One thing that Colorado State has going for them is BFN is an X factor. BFN, Braden, Fowler, and Nicolosi. He's a former Texas great high school quarterback. He's a redshirt freshman quarterback, and he just earned the starting job after the starter got injured. He came in and he played well against Washington State. Remember, Colorado State played Washington State to open the season. A great team, a top 25 team, a senior Latin team, a team that's deep in a lot of positions and looks great. Shout out to Cam Ward being an amazing quarterback. So for them, the way they look at it, they're playing Colorado. They're saying Colorado's an easier opponent than Washington State. We already played a top 25 team. We think they're easier. They're not as good on defense. They don't have as much depth. They don't have as much seniority and experience. They don't have the marquee players. Guess what? They think Shedeur Sanders is a worse quarterback than Cam Ward. They're not wrong. It's debatable. Cam Ward's great. You can't say anything about Cam Ward negative. Cam Ward did better at the FCS level than Shedeur Sanders did. Cam Ward went to Washington State, not nearly the same weapons, and he's been relevant, and he won 7 games. He's done all the things you want Shedeur to do. Cam Ward's already done it. So for the Colorado State team, they feel very confident in this matchup. I feel very confident saying Colorado's going to win the game, though. And the reason they're going to win the game is Colorado State can't run the ball. Their running backs leave a lot to be desired. They can't move the chains. But I can tell you that they have big play ability. They have receivers, 2 of them, that I think will be playing on Sundays. Colorado State does. They have a matchup nightmare for Colorado. Just straight up. They got a grown man at receiver, and Torrey Horton is the – Torrey Horton, do you guys remember I did my best group of 5 wide receivers? I did a video on this. Let me show you. I just thought about that right now while I'm sitting here. I'll pull it up. My best group of 5 wide receivers. Let's go find them. Group of 5 wide receivers right here. Boom. Torrey Horton was my number 3. There he is. Number 3 wide receiver, Torrey Horton. That's who Colorado State has. Okay, and they have a 6'3 wide receiver, another one. Their actual leading receiver this year. But look at Malachi Corley, man. He's getting ready for Ohio State. Ohio State better be ready because Corley missed last week, and he's back this week. My number 1 group of 5 wide receiver. But shout out to Torrey Horton. He's going to be a problem. That dude's the real deal. 10th in the country last year in receiving. Colorado better have an answer for this man. And I promise you, Colorado State's game plan is simple. Run a lot of long routes. run deep post and fades and just get Travis Hunter on his horse running so he can't play both ways. Just make him run all day long. Send him on long crossing routes. Make him line up in man and make that man follow you all over the field and get him tired. At least that's what I would do if I was a coach. But give it to me straight. Nonetheless, you guys know I'm big on Colorado. I just want to be realistic. Colorado State is not a scrub. I actually think they're one of the better teams in the Mountain West. They are not scrubs. Just very clear. It is SEC Thursday, though, so let's talk about it. Liam Cohen, the Kentucky offensive coordinator, he's out of the hospital. He had a quote-unquote medical episode. I don't even know what that means, a medical episode. He was working in the offices, and he had was this a seizure? Was this an overdose? Was this a headache? He got the shakes. Listen, I would have a medical episode, too, if I barely beat Eastern Kentucky the day before. If I couldn't get any offense going with superiorly talented players, and we were tied 7-7 at the half. Yeah, so Liam Cohen better get himself together. Remember, this is the guy who went to the Rams last year and looked terrible. Just keeping it real. Before we get into the schedule, I want to remind everybody, tonight is NFL, I guess, Thursday. And we have the Eagles against, who are they playing? Who are the Eagles playing tonight, babe? Do you know? You haven't looked at it? Oh, the Vikings. I just remembered. Listen, I don't watch NFL games. They don't move me. If I put them on, it's because I'm tired of doing research on all my stuff. If I put them on, it's because the wife's tired of watching reruns. We're not watching Married at First Sight or some other reality show. Like, there's so many things I'd rather do than watch NFL games. I'm just being real. Those guys are gross. Just letting you know. That being said, enjoy the game. I'm going to be watching Miami and Bethune-Cookman. I want to see Miami go out there and put up some absurd number. I told you guys take that spread at 41, and everybody's telling me the spread moved, Rico. The spread moved. I got a chat here. Let's go. We got a member. Welcome to Rico Knows MVP package. Shout out to Lee Muirbrook. Just signed up for the MVP package. We do have membership levels now on the channel. I was going to get to it when I got to the chat. Shout out to you, brother. Thank you very much. MVP, that man's paying a pretty penny to get the takes. We're going to give out 10 takes Saturday morning. Usually I'm going to give them out Tuesday. But since we got it late in the week, everything will be out Saturday morning. I'll give you guys my stone cold takes in one video, all in one hit, so you guys don't have to look around. And I'll just line them up, and we'll go from there. I'll put them in order by priority or my confidence level, and good luck. Do what you do. I'm not giving you gambling advice. Do what you do, and if you hit big, well, I'll see you in the chat, right? All right, so appreciate you, brother. Thank you so very much. Once again, shout out to Lee Muirbrook. I don't know where you're from, bro, but I hope you hit big. All right, so we're going to talk about the SEC today. Back in week 2, some of the things I saw. Obviously, Georgia dominates Ball State. Ball State has a good running back in Marquez Cooper. It didn't matter. Georgia did their thing. What I've noticed from Georgia, though, they gave a lot of people chances to play in these 2 first blowouts, right? So they win 2 blowouts to start the season. It's never close. They're up 40-something to nothing. And what I see is they're getting all the guys playing time. But Carson Beck still threw an interception, guys. Get disappointed in Carson Beck. He still did well, 283. I see him passing the rock around, getting Ra Thomas involved, getting Lovett involved. That's important. Alabama loses to Texas. And everybody's making a big deal out of this. But I already told you guys Alabama was going to be down this year. I talked about this months ago. I said Alabama's going to lose 3 games. Then I upped it to 4, and now I'm like, man, they could lose 5. And everybody thinks I'm crazy. But the reality is this. Teams that win in the SEC, teams that win when it really matters, they are senior laden teams. They are teams that are led by very experienced quarterbacks. And Alabama has neither. Like, Alabama does not have a very experienced quarterback. And they're going to struggle in those key moments. It really showed its face. Now, when I watch Alabama, they got great team speed. They look good on defense. They're hitting hard. They're doing all the right things. They're a well-coached team. But losing to Texas isn't the end of the world for them. It was expected, at least on my part. It was expected. So losing to Texas did not surprise me. I'm just happy for Texas for finally winning. They should have won last year for getting it done. And Alabama, believe it or not, even with the loss, Alabama's still one of the better SEC teams out there. Like, I watch a lot of SEC teams play, and they're not better than Alabama. Like, I see Tennessee right there. They're not better than Alabama. If they had to line up and play them, they're not beating them. Tennessee struggled with Austin Peay. Make that one make sense. I'm looking at Tennessee, and as I do my assessment and I watch the film, they're running the ball really well. But Brew McCoy is not taking that step forward that we expected from him, being a marquee wide receiver. After Hyatt leaves, you were the second leading receiver last year. You should be the quote-unquote possession receiver, big guy with that can get open every play. Brew's not doing it. It's disappointing. And Tennessee just underwhelming in that game. And they got Florida this week. I'll talk about it on the next screen. LSU supposedly hit all cylinders, went out and did their thing. That's cool. When I watch LSU on film and I watch them against Grambling, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's still the same thing. I see no other option outside of Malik Neighbors. So I see Daniels running around, right? Jaden Daniels running around, extending the play. But no other receivers are relevant to me except for Malik Neighbors. That number 2 kid, he just drops it all the time. When I watch film, I do the numbers. And Logan Diggs showing up doing 100 yards against Grambling doesn't move me. I want to see him do it in the SEC, but I'm still underwhelmed by LSU right now. And I'm really disappointed because when I saw their transfer portal class, I was encouraged. But something's wrong. They don't impress me. Ole Miss and Tulane. Ole Miss did not impress me at all in this game. You get a backup quarterback, you should be blowing the brakes off of this team, and you didn't. You didn't. 37-20, but it was much closer than that. It really was. And they didn't have the best quarterback in the country. Have you seen Michael Pratt's stat line? He's number 1 in rating, passer rating. I think he went 14 for 14 in the first game. So with the backup quarterback, Tulane did not look out of place. They looked very comparable. I love Ole Miss. I love Lane Kiffin. I love the transfer portal additions. It just wasn't good. Went back and watched the A&M Miami game this morning, and I want to tell you, A&M played great. A&M looked much better than the final score or the box score. A&M had some key mistakes, a forced fumble that just bad luck. It was a great hit. A receiver slipping and falling on a route. Just bad stuff happening. But you can't let a quarterback throw 5 touchdowns on you. You just can't. And when I was watching it, Josh DeBerry, after playing so great his first week, after dominating in the first week, the transfer from Boston College, this week he was a liability. And that's unfortunate because he is a very good football player. I think he's an NFL-level corner. I think A&M is still good. Just Jimbo Fisher sucks, man. Jimbo Fisher doesn't get it done. They're still a good team. It's just underwhelming. Wake Forest and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt got blown out. Wake Forest was supposed to have a down year. I don't care that A.J. Swan put up over 300 yards. Wake Forest was in control of this game the entire time. I don't understand what's going on with Vandy. They look terrible. They probably shouldn't have beat Hawaii to start the season. Vandy might be one of the worst FBS teams ever. And here's the thing about it. Like, everybody always brags to me and goes like, oh, Vandy could win another conference. No, they couldn't. Vandy would be a 3-win team in any conference in America. A 3-win team in any conference in America, and those 3 wins will be out of conference. Because then they'd be introduced to 9 conference games, something they've never done before. They suck. Kentucky, I already told you, they laid an egg and looked underwhelming against Eastern Kentucky. Ray Davis, everybody's talking about the announcer, talking about nobody wanted Ray Davis, and now they all want him. No, he was a 1,000-yard rusher at Vandy. He looks like a substitute teacher. He looks much older than he is, and he plays like an old running back. Like, he doesn't have a great burst first step. I'm not impressed with the way Ray Davis is looking right now. Shout out to Kentucky. Get it to your playmakers. Where is Barron Brown? Where is Key? Like, get the ball to your stars. Arkansas should be embarrassed not being able to score on Kent State. Kent State's cupboard is bare. Kent State got blown out by UCF, and Arkansas couldn't do it. I'm very underwhelmed by Arkansas and what they were doing. And that's the reality of the situation. That's why we missed the spread there. Talking about being underwhelmed and looking terrible, Missouri, Middle Tennessee State, that game was way too close, 23-19. How can't you do better? Brady, I watched it back, and Brady Cook actually looks good on tape. Good decision-making, doing all the right things he can. But that defense needs to shut some people down. And there's a guy, Dalen Carnell, he plays for Missouri. He follows the channel. He saw my lock for this week was Missouri losing to K-State, and he wrote on the comments, he's like, Rico, I don't agree with you. And I just want to say shout out to an SEC football player for reaching out to me via social media and saying he doesn't agree with me. That's fine. I'm just glad the players are here. So shout out to him. McNeese State and Florida. Florida gets in the winning column here. They get the ball rolling. Shout out to Graham Mertz for not being able to throw for 200 yards against McNeese. McNeese State, that's just embarrassing. Ricky Pearsall was open a lot. It was a good tape, but I'm still underwhelmed by Florida. Arizona, Mississippi State. Arizona should have won this game, and they didn't, and that's unfortunate. But they should have won this game. I think there wasn't there like 4 interceptions? I think there was 4 interceptions in this game. I'm going to double check that real quick. Oh, no, that was the Auburn, California game. Give me a second. This game, you guys got to know something. It was 4 interceptions. DeLara. Listen, guys, Arizona has a great offense. You throw 4 interceptions and you still only lose in overtime and 24 points, like you lose by 1 possession after 4 interceptions? What the hell's going on? T-Mac, if you guys don't know who T-Mac is down here, former 5-star wide receiver, was supposed to go to Oregon, decided to stick with some of his high school teammates out of Servite and go to Arizona. The three-headed monster, by the way, they're pretty good, but, man, Will Rogers, this team is different. Mississippi State is different. They have very senior defenders, right, linebacker. Their front 7 is very senior Latin, but Will Rogers is no longer doing that run and gun, snap it 1 second and let it rip. When I evaluated Will Rogers for the NFL draft last year, and I evaluated him for the NFL draft last year as a joke, it was a long story. Somebody asked me, is he going to get drafted? And I said, well, he didn't declare for the draft. I'll evaluate him anyways, and I made a video about it. He didn't look NFL ready, and the reason is because the style of offense they run under Mike Leach. Now they run a different offense, and you see Marks right there, the running back. Jay Marks, 24 carries, 123 yards. It's a different offense at Mississippi State now. It's more ball control, more pro-oriented. I like it. Will Rogers isn't built for it. He's never done that before, so he's adjusting. But when you look at the receivers, last year, I think it was 14 different receivers had receptions for Mississippi State. Think about that. How deep is your receiver room? It's 5 receivers, 6 receivers. Mississippi State completed passes to 14 different wide receivers last year. And about 4 of them hit the transfer portal after Mike Leach passed away. But 14 different wide receivers on that team. And they're not doing that anymore. It's pretty awesome. Still, not impressed with what Mississippi State did. Arizona's probably in the bottom 3 teams in the Pac-12. You shouldn't be going to overtime with them if you're a senior Latin team. You just shouldn't. That shouldn't happen. And it did. South Carolina, Furman. South Carolina did not right the ship against Furman. Allowing 21 points is ridiculous. Not having any rushes over 50 yards, outrageous. They just can't run the ball. They got no offensive line. Spencer Rattler's out there doing his best, throwing for almost 350 yards again. And Leggett again. But South Carolina is going to be in a world of hurt. They play Georgia this week. Ugh, I wish that on no one. And then Auburn and Cal. I hope nobody stood up to watch this game. I did. I watched it. Sam Jackson coming in. He laid an egg. Sam Jackson's a star transfer from TCU, former third-string quarterback at TCU. He's a great dual-threat quarterback. He's exciting to watch, and he played terrible. And it doesn't matter, though. They didn't pull him, and they should have. But I get it. He gives them the best chance to win. 14 for 27, 126 yards, and 2 interceptions. The only person worse than him was Peyton Thorne. I think Auburn played 3 different quarterbacks in the game. There's just no way around it. Why can't Jarquez Hunter run the ball? Why can't they do what they need to do? The reality is Cal's a much better team than we think. We've been all writing off Cal as not being good. Cal's good, and their quarterback play is bad, though. These are 2 teams that are going to struggle to win in their conference, but they'll beat the brakes off of anybody walking around. So it's fine. I still think Sam Jackson is a future star. He just had a really bad game. Very underwhelming. Auburn's defense not great, but they played great. The players aren't that good. I've assessed them. They're not that good. So that's last week. This week coming up, I've talked about a lot of these games in videos, so I'll go fast. LSU at Mississippi State. A lot of people are calling for an upset here. Remember, LSU can't score. They just have a struggling offensive scheme right now. Mississippi State's built for this. I think this game is a low. I don't know what the under is. I probably got it up over here. What's this? What's the team? Mississippi State. LSU. So the over-under is 54.5. I like the under in this game. They give me 9.5 points for LSU. I think Mississippi State's defense is good. They can stop plays, and I think they can shut down one receiver that's always trying to get open. It's at Mississippi State. I like the 54.5 under. If you don't like the under, then just take the spread on Mississippi State. Maybe they're within 9.5 points of LSU. I haven't been impressed with LSU. At the beginning of the season, I would have told you, in preseason, I would have told you LSU wins this game huge. That's what I would have said. And now I'm sitting here going, I like the under. I feel like nobody's going to score in this game. LSU's offense leaves a lot to be desired. Next game, Kansas State and Missouri. I like Kansas State spread. I like Kansas State to win this game. Do money lines all you want. Careful with your money. Don't listen to me. I'm not giving you gambling advice. I'm just telling you how I feel about them. South Carolina, Georgia. I think South Carolina sucks this year. Something's wrong with their offensive line. They can't run the ball. They do have a passer and Rattler so that they can score. But Georgia's got great defensive backs and a mean defensive front. I think Georgia, the spread was 28. It's a lot. 27.5. It's a lot in an SEC matchup, but I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. I stay away from it. Alabama and South Florida. They tell me the spread for Alabama is 33 points. 33 points over under 61. I think Alabama wins by more than 33. South Florida starting a redshirt freshman quarterback. He's a dual threat kid. He runs. He can throw. But South Florida is anemic. Like, their defense is anemic. They're terrible. South Florida gave up 24 points to FAMU, bro. To FAMU. Florida A&M. There's no way. They did pick them off 3 times, but ULM and A&M. Obviously, A&M's winning that huge. I don't even know the spread on this. Oh, there it is. 36. Is A&M on a vengeance? Are they coming back? 36 points sounds about right. I wouldn't bet it, but it sounds right. I got Tennessee beating Florida. They gave me 6.5 points for this. I feel like Tennessee's better than that. Staying away from everything else on that. Auburn beating Samford. Don't know the spread. Vanderbilt at UNLV. Don't let this game be close. Vandy, don't let this game be close. I'm going to be thoroughly impressed if UNLV wins this game. I wouldn't be surprised. Georgia Tech and Ole Miss. I said give me Georgia Tech. I found out their star wide receiver Chase Lane is injured. Probably out this game. That's the A&M transfer. I still think Georgia Tech is good. I look at Georgia Tech, and they played Louisville tight. I feel they can stop Ole Miss's offense or at least be competitive in it. Haynes King has played against these guys before. It's a level of familiarity here, but they gave me like 19.5 points on this. And I said, man, I think Georgia Tech stays within 19.5 of these guys. Oh, it's 18 points now. I still think Georgia Tech is not bad. I don't know. I feel some type of way about that. 18, if I was leaning either way, I would take Georgia Tech to cover that spread if I was leaning either way. You do what you want, but that's how I feel. Arkansas, BYU. Arkansas has been very underwhelming. BYU has a great defense. I feel like the under's in play here. I'm going to double-check it. Arkansas, BYU. Oh, of course. Vegas knows. 47.5. But with an 8.5 point spread, BYU has a good defense. I don't know, man. I don't know. 47.5 is super low already. I just think it's going to be a slugfest. And then Akron at Kentucky. Leave it alone. Kentucky, you don't know what they're doing. And Akron's gross. So that's the games this week. A little underwhelming for the SEC games. That goes hand in hand when you only play 8 conference games. You're going to have a week of just terrible games where they schedule UNLV and Hawaii and Eastern Kentucky. It's just gross. And Akron, who knows what they're doing. All right, I'll go to the questions now. Once again, I want to remind everybody, we now have memberships. Members get priority. Shout out to Andres for doing the MVP package. We really appreciate you, man. You make our lives possible. I just want to tell everybody that with the memberships, I'm going to keep doing open chat to the public. There's 150 of you here. The questions get overwhelming. I don't get to half of them throughout the night. But once we get over 10,000 followers and we start having consistent groups of like 200 or plus every single night, yeah, we're going to have to make it member chat only. But in the meantime, get your free stuff on. TikTok, 170 of you. Letting you know now, if you want to support the channel, support me as a content creator. Go up here, join the live stream on YouTube. That's all I ask. All you got to do, hit the link, follow the channel, go to YouTube. Go to YouTube, search Rico Knows. You'll find the live stream, and you can see all the graphics on the screen and everything we're talking about, and you can see the questions. It's pretty cool. Good afternoon, everyone. What up, Steve? Thanks for joining SEC today. You know the drill. SEC questions only. Hit the like button before we come in the chat. I'm sitting at 63 likes. There's no way, guys. Step out the show. Go hit the like button. Come back in. That's all you got to do. Leave the show. Hit the like button. Come back in. Always hit the like button before you get in the show. It helps the algorithm. Help share the channel with everybody else out there. Let's make sure the public knows about us because we know about them busters. Good day, sir. Good day, Boss Omar. Thank you for the $5 there, Steve. I appreciate you. Big Sexy One says, does Bama win more than 10 games this year? Well, let's go look at Bama's schedule. I got Bama here. They're going to win. You know, I think Ole Miss is their toughest game remaining. And if they lose Ole Miss, they can lose a lot of confidence. But they're slated to win at least 10 games. 10 games sounds realistic. They can win more. It's realistic. They're only going to lose one game. Get in the conference championship game, lose another one. Rico, just got out of work. What up, Andres? Hope you're having a good day, man. Appreciate the show and can't wait to listen to the whole thing later. Everyone give this stream a like. Thank you so much, Andres. Yeah, shout out to the 2,000 people that are watching the show after I post it. Trust me, I go to bed at night, wake up the next morning, and everybody watched it while I was sleeping. I appreciate that. Thank you guys for digging around in the crates. AJ Interviews. Yo, Rico, what's good, my guy? It's been a minute. Have had lots of tests for school as well as rebranding my podcast and website. Shout out to AJ. What player in the SEC should the press know about but don't? Most underrated. So for me, most underrated player in the SEC is Brian Battie. Brian Battie, a South Florida transfer. He plays for Auburn. He's a running back. You're probably not going to know about him while they have Alston and while they have Jarquez Hunter. But next year, I think Brian Battie is going to be a household name. Brian Battie is a guy for me that I really think is great. Another guy that everybody should know is Jair Shorter, and he hasn't had a reception this year at all. Plays for Auburn, wide receiver, transfer from North Texas. I really like Jair Shorter. I think he's a home run threat. So those are two guys that really matter to me. Evan Kramer, getting my questions in now since I won't be here for the live. Why do you think Arkansas has failed to impress? I think Arkansas has failed to impress because of our level of expectation for them. Because they have KJ Jefferson, we just immediately assume they're going to be amazing. But some of the things they did not answer is they did not find receivers or replacements for guys like Matt Landers, right? So you lose your star wide receiver and you replace it with, like, who? Division II Tesla? You replace it with a 6'7" kid from Bowling Green? Like, you didn't do it right. That's what Arkansas is doing wrong. And then having Raheem Sanders get hurt really impacts your offensive output. So it's been a little underwhelming on that regard. They got a ton of transfers, though. I don't understand why they're not showing out. Where are they at? Shout out to Jaheim Thomas. He's playing great. What player in the SEC should the press know about? Okay, we got that. Also, who looks like the best team in the West to you? I would personally say Ole Miss. Not at all. Ole Miss does not look like the best team in the West to me just because they're undefeated. They look okay against Tulane. I think the best team in the West is out of Alabama and A&M, if you ask me. And I know they've both lost. But that's the reality of the situation right now. Teams in the SEC are going to lose if they play anybody outside of that conference. They got to play each other and keep it amongst each other. Because the minute they go play somebody else, they're going to get the brakes beat off of them. They don't belong outside of conference. It's just a bunch of dudes playing each other. It's a good old boy network. It feels like baseball before it was desegregated. Like, you're a great baseball player, and you're really good in your pocket against your people. But the minute we start bringing other people in, you can't win. That's what it feels like. I feel like the SEC is just a bunch of scrubs. Yo, Rico, what's good, my guy? It's been a minute. Have lots of tests. Oh, we already got that. My bad. AJ Interviews, boom. Trent says, hey, Rico, what are the key issues that have kept A&M from being an elite program over the years? They have more money and resources than the vast majority of programs, but seem to underperform. So, Trent, number one is coaching, right? Continuity of the coaching staff. They've been losing great coaches, or they've been losing coaches, period. They go to other places. They also, I think it's greed and expectation. Like, you get rid of someone should still be there. You got to just be content and be happy with the progress you're making as opposed to trying to emulate the people around you. Sometimes people lose sight of what really matters. And what matters is success, revenue, getting to bowl games, winning, that kind of thing. Not making a big splash hire so everybody's impressed with you. The Jimbo Fisher hire was a tragedy the minute it happened, and I told everyone that. Also, smash that like button, everyone. Another thing they're doing is they have a real issue with the way they recruit. A&M does not recruit correctly. They do not evaluate talent correctly. They do not put enough value on certain players' character flaws. Find quality young men that play the game of football. Find every year. I'm looking at my recruiting staff and I'm saying find me 25 quality young men that play the game of football. Not the 35 best players, not the 25 best players. That's not what I'm asking for. I need 25 coachable, quality young men. Figure that one out. And they're not doing that. They're just going out looking for the fastest, biggest, strongest, whatever. And that's great until 10 of them are no longer on your team within 12 months. 4 of them transfer to other schools and are kicked out of those schools before they ever played for those schools. Shout out to Ish Harris, Chris Marshall, Smoke Bowie, and there's one more. It's crazy. It's crazy the way they're recruiting. They're ignoring character flaws. That will hurt your locker room. Oh, Denver Harris was the other one, right? Denver Harris kicked out of your own school. Chumais as well. Yep. They're all there. Good afternoon, Rico. It's just sad the way A&M is carrying themselves. Eugene Asante and Marcus Harris looked great last Saturday. Crazy to hear about Asante being on the scout team last year under Harsin. He's talking about Auburn, by the way, guys. And Eugene Asante, he's a good linebacker. You guys got to remember, he's a transfer from North Carolina. So showing up to the new school, you're there. They don't put you in the starting lineup. They don't let you play. But, man, he used to be a great player in Virginia in high school. He played Virginia high school ball. He was the player of the year in Northern Virginia. I remember watching him. His team, they won state. West something. They won state. I'm just telling you. And as far as Marcus, Marcus was starting last year, so he looks good. He was starting over Emba, so he's not bad. But, yeah, got to be excited for some of these guys. And Harsin obviously did a lot of things wrong, hence him not being there anymore. Also, what's going on, Rico? Hope everything's been going well. D-Dub, everything's going well. Getting a little closer to retirement, guys. Getting closer every day. And looking to hit that reset button on life and try to find what we're going to do next. We're excited. Mark Preston says, Jimbo Fisher, overrated and on the hot seat in your opinion. Mark Preston, Jimbo Fisher is definitely not overrated because nobody thinks very highly of him. You tell me who the hell has him rated high. If Jimbo Fisher is overrated, that means somebody's talking very highly of him. Nobody's doing that. So that's number one. Is he on the hot seat? I made 2 videos about it this offseason. Yes, he's on the hot seat. Always has been. Always will be because he's not any good. That's why he's not overrated. Jeff Jensen says, how long of a leash does Napier have at Florida? So his leash is as long as they'll let him develop his players. He's doing good in recruiting. He's got a 5-star quarterback he's got a good quarterback coming in. So as long as they stay committed and don't get discouraged by the losses they're going to have this year, they'll be okay. But Florida needed a clean house. All those Mullen recruits don't want to play for him. I've seen 31 players leave Florida in the last 2 years now. 31. It's really hard to be competitive when you lose 31 players that were ranked really high. That the recruiting services swore up and down they were a top 10 recruiting class, right? You got to remember, these recruiting services label these kids 4 and 5 stars and then just go hands off and go, oh, my bad. He was good in high school, but he's not good anymore. That kind of shit bugs me. He's doing well in recruiting, but Florida fans expect results yesterday. So remember, fans do not get you fired. There are decision-making authorities at universities that get you fired. You have to appease the decision makers, the people who hired you. Fans don't matter. They don't. They're just the public opinion. You're not going to fire a guy because a fan didn't like him. Andrew Lawley says, Rico, how impressed have you been with Mississippi State and Will Rogers? I kind of talked about it earlier. Obviously, the weekend will be a big test against LSU. Yeah, so I'm not impressed. They haven't done anything to impress me, but I expected Mississippi State to have a good defense, senior Latin team, and that's how that goes. I'm sorry, I just got a text message in the middle of the show. It bugged me. Shout out to Howard. Lewis Henson, Roll Tide Roll. What's up, man? Andrew Lawley says, also, do you see a scenario that Simpson or Buckner steer Alabama's ship back on track? Alabama's ship is still on track. They play in the SEC. They have no SEC losses. They lost to a team that was better than them. What's there to steer back on track? They're right where they're supposed to be. They're in the SEC, and they haven't lost a conference game. As an Alabama fan, I can admit we are spoiled, but there's something off about this year, at least with Milroe. There's nothing off, man. They don't have a Heisman Trophy at quarterback. You're not going to win games when you have a true freshman or a redshirt freshman or redshirt sophomore. You're just not going to win games like this. It's not real. Come on, guys. Wilder Hume says, was wondering what you think about the SEC as a whole this year. Looks like they won't be the top dogs. Well, they still have Georgia, and I think the same thing I've always thought about the SEC. They're not special. They have 3 good teams like every other conference in America. For the last 10 years, there's been 3 good teams in every conference in America. The trick is to trick the world into thinking the whole conference is good. That's the absurd part, is when they get to ESPN recruiting services and they try to tell you that every one of these recruiting classes is a top 25 recruiting class. That's what they do. That's the part that's tricking you. These high school kids get ranked differently. I see Vanderbilt with top 40 recruiting classes. Well, then tell me why they can't beat Wake Forest, right? Tell me why these players can't beat certain teams. That's what people don't understand. And I get this argument every day in my chat, and it bugs me because it'll be a new SEC fan every day. And I got to convince the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. And it's been thousands upon thousands for the last year now. And then now the games are being played, and they're like, oh, well, that sucks. Well, that's weird. It'll be like, yeah, Rico, well, we got the most players drafted last year. The NFL drafted the most players from the SEC. And I'll be like, okay, congrats, but let's talk about it. Hendon Hooker got drafted. Where's he from? He's not from the SEC. He's a transfer to the SEC. Jahmyr Gibbs, not from the SEC. He's a transfer, right? Who's the lineman from Florida? He's a transfer from Louisiana. I could do this all day. Transfers are making you feel like you still have the best players, and you don't. Every starting quarterback was a transfer. Will Levis transferred in. He's at Penn State, bro. Transferred in. Like it's embarrassing. Jaden Daniels just transferred in from Arizona State, but you'll say he's an SEC quarterback. It's crazy to me how the SEC fans just look at a guy and go, Joe Burrows, LSU. And you'll be like, no, he's not LSU, bro. If he's LSU, then Jalen Hurts is Oklahoma. Which one is it? Oh, well, Jalen Hurts is Bama. Well, if Jalen Hurts is Bama, then tell me what the hell Joe Burrows is. He's Ohio State. You guys don't get it, man, because you don't know the origin of players. You don't sit down and study it. And that's the most frustrating part. Now, don't get me wrong. When you do see all those players in the SEC, they're brainwashed by ESPN. That's all there is to it. These kids grew up, and their whole life, all they see is ESPN every day on their channel. They could lose games. All they see is SEC on ESPN. That's it. They're going to talk about it, and they're convinced. You guys remember 3 years in a row we watched Clemson versus Alabama in the national title game? Why? Because the committee was influenced by ESPN every day of their life. For 4 months straight, all ESPN did was talk about these two conferences. You know why? They own both of them. So when Baylor goes 13-1 or TCU goes 14-1, have you guys ever studied TCU? Have you guys ever studied TCU? And look at this. This is why you guys don't know. And this is why there's all these fans walking around uninformed. The SEC fans are uninformed on what's really happening. Look at this. Look at this 2014 team right here. This 2014 team I just pulled up did not go to the playoffs. They didn't get a playoff bid because they had one loss to the 5th best team in the country. Look at this run here. 4th best team, 5th, 15th, 27th. They had 3 games against the top 10. And they won. And they had a 3-point loss to the 5th best team in the country. 3-point loss. And they don't get to go to the playoffs. And then they give them the ninth best team in the country in Ole Miss, and they beat them 42-3. And you know what they do? Oh, well, Ole Miss didn't care about that game because they didn't get to go to the SEC championship. Ole Miss didn't care about that game. 42-3, bruh. I don't give a shit if they cared. You weren't beating this team. And this team never got a chance to win a national title. Never got a chance to play for a national title. This happens all the time. It happened to Baylor. And then when those other teams who lose, they lose in their 9th conference game. Shout out to USC, losing to Cal and Stanford. You lose in your 9th conference game, a game that the SEC and the ACC don't even play. You've been manipulated your whole life, and you don't realize it because you just go, well, who won the most titles? But in 2008, ESPN paid the SEC $2 billion. That's what did all this. It's right here, $2 billion. And the minute you got $2 billion from ESPN, they had to protect their investment. So what did they do? They immediately started telling the world, this is the best conference in the world. This is the best conference in America. And if you do that systemically over time, high school kids are born. And all they hear on TV and watch is ESPN, 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 SEC, SEC, over and over and over. And those are the only schools they want to go to. That's it. We're stockpiling. Now we're all going to the SEC. Are they better? Not necessarily. You'll never know. They don't play anybody outside of the SEC. Oh, Rico, they played all the other big schools. Yeah, those big schools, when they played Texas and Oregon and Ohio State, those guys played in SEC power and still had to play 9 conference games. I want you to think about how hard their conference is. They had to play that SEC power and their whole conference. SEC, you only got to win 2 conference games and you're a bowl-eligible team. 2 conference games and you're a bowl-eligible team because you play 4 non-conference. 4 non-conference, 2 conference wins. You're bowl-eligible. And the more bowl-eligible teams you have, the more revenue for your conference. So it's stacking the deck. And then you play 4 non-conference games. This means you don't lose in conference. This means every team in conference has an inflated schedule, has an inflated win-loss record. Every team in conference has an inflated win-loss record. That means your strength of schedule goes up. So now they try to tell you, oh, they got the hardest schedule. They don't have the hardest schedule. It's the easiest schedule alive. And the best part about it, you can win 4 games. You can win 5 games. 6 games and still have a top 10 recruiting class because of ESPN. Shout out to Florida. Florida, what reason does anybody want to go to Florida? They just won 6 games. They're atrocious and still have a top 10 recruiting class because of ESPN, because of the revenue given to that conference. So when you see a 6-win Minnesota team or a 6-win Iowa team or a 6-win Oregon State team, understand they have it monumentally harder because they just won 6 games in a Power 5 conference and they're not on ESPN every single day. You can't even tell me who, you know, game day, but before this year you couldn't tell me who's on Fox. You can't tell me who's been on Fox's pregame show for the last 20 years. But you can sit there and go Kirk Herbstreit, Desmond Howard, Lee Corso. Like, you can name game day. Because that's the number 1 show in America. That's what's influencing everybody. And that's the reality of the situation. So once you give these schools $2 billion, you stack the deck with transfers, with recruiting. You stack the deck with out-of-conference games not being in conference. Remember, when you don't play that 9th conference game, that means the entire conference can get a win. But if they all played each other, you'd have 7 wins and 7 losses. 7 wins and 7 losses. You're forced. That extra conference game gives half the conference a loss. And when you don't give everybody a loss, please understand, we're not talking about Alabama and Georgia. And everybody else who goes, well, they won all the games. Alabama and Georgia is not the SEC. What we're talking about is getting Mississippi State, Kentucky, Missouri, Florida to bowl games. And that bowl game revenue keeps your recruiting budgets, your facilities, your coaching staffs, keeps everything above water. The minute you, and this is why the coaches did this. They had a meeting this year. You can go to ESPN and look it up. The coaches came out the meeting and said, well, we talked about a 9-conference game, 9-team conference, but we realized the ramifications it would have on bowl eligibility. They're going to lose games, and teams will not go to a bowl game. That will impact the overall revenue of the conference. Only 2 conferences do this, guys. Only 2 conferences do this. Both ESPN conferences, ACC and SEC. It's disgusting. And it's tricked an entire generation of people. And there's a whole fan base of 20 and 30-year-old males now who walk around going, SEC. It's like, what are you talking about? The whole conference is shit, except for the 3 at the top. And now they realize they can't even recruit quarterbacks. Who's keeping them afloat? Bryce Young, a California kid. Brock Bowers, California kid. Matt Corral, California kid. Nico, moving forward at Tennessee, California kid. Ohio State caught on. They got C.J. Stroud, a California kid. You got to understand what's happening. But when you talk to an SEC fan, he's like, well, SEC, it just means more in the South. Bro, your team is international. Your team is national. There's nothing about your team that's the South. If it was about teams in the South, then South Alabama and Troy and FIU and all these teams would be dominating. UCF, they would all be amazing. It's ignorance. It's not understanding that you've been manipulated your entire adult life. It's comical to me because I get it every day. Rico, you don't know what you're talking about. No, I know what I'm talking about in every aspect of football until I talk about the SEC. Then I magically don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a fucking genius about everything else. But I get to this part, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's wild. Shout out to Rodney Woods. Good to see you again, brother. Can you please give me your evaluation of Mizzou? Yeah, man. Mizzou, for me, is underachieving. And I'm not blaming the coaching staff. They have a great defense that I like to watch. I really like Mizzou's team speed on defense. But they've been recruiting well in state, keeping them in state. They're just not getting it done. And they need to. Now, I shouldn't say that. They're winning games. We'll see what happens this week. But Brady Cook is him. Brady Cook's the best quarterback you got. Stop telling me put in Sam Horn. Stop telling me about some kid who just transferred in. Oh, man. What about Jay Garcia? Like, dude, stop it. Stop it. Brady Cook's your guy. Rock with him. Rock with him. I like Missouri's wide receiver core. Obviously, Luther Burden's fun to watch. But I really like their defense. They look mean. They just lost a lot of great defensive linemen, right? That's what it really comes down to. Shout out to Kenneth Rubin. Just got the MVP package. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for supporting the channel and making my life possible. Shout out to Kenneth Rubin. That man also tipped me out. He won pretty big. I appreciate him from the bottom of my core. Also, do you blah, 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 blah. Does Texas A&M have some type of military program? I see a lot of people in uniform. Lewis Henton. Texas A&M used to be an all-male school until the 60s, and they used to be all about the Corps of the Cadets, right? If you enrolled at A&M, you were in the cadets, and you were going to do it. Now I want to say their cadet corps is like down to 2,100, or I know there was a campaign to get it up to 3,000, but it's just ROTC. It's just kids going to get their commission and becoming officers in the Army. Yeah, so it's very militant, very military-like, but it's not the whole population now. Now they admitted women, they have other things going on, but yeah, it's still very relevant to their history, and you'll see them looking the way, that part. Gordon Butterfinger says, yesterday Rico blasts a guy asking for paid picks group, says he hates gamblers. Next day he creates $25 a month group for gamblers. It's not necessarily for gamblers, it's for everybody. It's for anybody who wants a piece. But I know that the gamblers are like flies on shit. Let me tell you something, though, Gordon Butterfingers. Since you're in here and you're not a supporter of the channel, you're just hating. I walk around and I tell young people, don't get married. Don't get married. I don't even gamble. But I give people lectures about don't get married, don't date that girl, don't do this, don't do that. Guess what, man? I got a living girlfriend, and I'm this close to getting married. What's up? It's life, dude. Make your decisions and roll with it. I'm good. Are you okay? I'm good. Now you're questioning how I make a living? It seems to be working out just fine. I got 3 members today. What'd you do in this time I've been talking? I don't know, man. I've been talking 55 minutes. Just made $75 talking for 55 minutes. That's $75 an hour, man. What do you do for a living? How we doing, Butterfingers? What do you do for a living? Hey, Rico, what do you think of Arkansas? Maybe some things they are doing well and what they need to improve on. I like Arkansas. What they're doing well is winning games. They need to improve on offensive efficiency, find other playmakers, find a deep threat down the field, develop wide receivers, get the ball to them. Shout out to KJ Jefferson. They just need to keep winning games. They're fine. Thoughts on Eagles versus Vikings? I don't watch NFL all that often. My thoughts are Jalen Hurts better not get hurt. Vikings, give me Kirk Cousins all day. I'm a fan. I love Kirk Cousins. I think he's a classy dude. I think Kirk Cousins is a dog. Don't ever forget that. Kirk Cousins was drafted in the 4th round after a first round was drafted. Right? They took RG3 in the 1st. They took Kirk Cousins in the 4th. So he already went onto that team knowing he was going to be a backup. He's second string. He's got to earn his keep, and he did. And he's carved an entire career out of it, and he's been playing longer than RG3 right now. More career earnings, more stats. Everything about Kirk Cousins is a dog. And you got to remember, that happened in college. When he went to Michigan State, he was competing for starting time. Nick Foles was there. Kirk Cousins beat out Nick Foles and sent his ass to Arizona. They were both competing with Brian Hoyer as well. Like, you guys don't know, Kirk Cousins has been that guy from the beginning. So anytime I see the Vikings, I want to see Kirk Cousins succeed. He's a beast, and he's the alpha male in the room. You like that? You like that? Yeah, I like that. He also got a wife with no leaked nudes anywhere. I like classy relationships. William Spector, yo, Rico, what is Tennessee's weakest position group? Quarterback for Tennessee. Go, Rico. Go, can't stay, but you got to like before I bounce. Shout out to you, TDC. Thank you so very much. Willie Bobo, what's up, y'all? Corey Free says, it's a shut up and listen day for me. Have a good one, Rico. Thank you so much, Corey Free. Shout out to Barron for having his message deleted. Tyler Zimmerman, any relation to George? Rico, wanted to be one of the first to join your premium, but don't see it on your YouTube yet. Is that live already? It's live, bruh. It's live. People are in it. It's the MVP. Thank you, Tyler. Chat just jumped on me. I got to go back up. Please be patient. It happens every now and then. It happens every now and then. Here we go. O'Malia. Hey, Lansdowne's back again. I saw him yesterday. I'm finna be a Bama USF game. Do you think Buckner will make an appearance? Yeah, if it's a blowout. If it's a blowout, they're bringing the backup. Sounds good to me. Cade Bearden. Hey, Rico. No bets. Just what are your thoughts on the upcoming UFC Grasso versus Shevchenko fight and thoughts on Sean Strickland beating Izzy? Love the UFC take. So my take is Grasso needs to stop decorating the damn belt. That's ridiculous. I saw a multicolored belt nonsense bullshit. I hope she does well. I'm always rooting for her. Mi gente, my people. That's cool. Shevchenko's a fighter, so I'm excited. I don't really care who wins. Just excited to see a good fight. Sean Strickland should not be a champ. Glad he beat Izzy because I don't like Izzy, but Sean Strickland should not be a champ. He didn't deserve that title shot, and you shouldn't give everybody a title shot. You just shouldn't. They got to earn it, and he didn't earn it. He fought an unranked fighter and somehow got in a title fight. That don't make no sense to me. At least fight the 1, 2, 3 contender to earn a right to be in the title fight. That's how I get down. Rico, who has the best defense in the SEC? David DeJesus, it's hard to argue off of Georgia. It's either Georgia or Bama, but I'll go with Georgia. Lord Bandy, let's run them likes up, please, as we enter chat. Thank you guys so much. We're at 115. I'll take it. Steve Talbot says, Willie Bobo, salute. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Shout out to Sam. Levert Pennington, gone. Tyler Hayes, Simpson is not the answer. He played high school ball in my high school district, and he looked very subpar against 4A West Tennessee teams. Rumor was his attention out of high school came from his dad's connection to Harbaugh. So, if you don't know, his dad is the coach at UTM, University of Tennessee Martin. Remember when Simpson was trying to decide what school he was going to go to, one of his finalists as a favor to his dad was University of Tennessee Martin. That's cool and all. I don't know if Simpson's ever going to be the answer, but apparently this guy who played against him in high school says, nah. In my high school's district, yeah. EMT724 says, do I think Joe Milton is similar player to Anthony Richardson, and what have you seen from Milton so far this year? So, I guess they're similar because they're black with really strong arms, but outside of that, I don't see any similarities. Anthony Richardson's like a super athlete. Milton's not an athlete. Milton's more experienced. He's never won a quarterback battle, but I don't see any similarities there. Joe Milton reminds me of a less accomplished Joe Flacco, if you want to give a comparison. Joe Milton reminds me of a less accomplished Jamarcus Russell. Somebody with a huge arm that just doesn't do anything to wow me. Tyler Hayes says, saw someone asking if Simpson could steer the ship in the right direction. That's why he was writing that. Yep. What ship are we on? Will LSU cover the spread? Cornelius Fobb. Will LSU cover the spread? Theoretically, yes. Theoretically, yes. I'm not excited about it, though. SEC questions only. Thank you very much. Do you think LSU wins the SEC? I did before the season, Cam. I did before the season, but now that I look at it, I don't see who's beating Georgia. All these teams look terrible. Georgia looks a cut above them. Let's go, Rico. I'll say this. If LSU wins the SEC, then no SEC team is going to the playoffs. If LSU wins the SEC, no SEC team's going to the playoffs. That means Florida State wins, USC wins, and then give me Ohio State and Michigan. No SEC team in the playoffs. Serious. Oh, I'm sorry, Texas. Texas and Michigan. Shout out to Victor K. Victor K just got an MVP package. How my haters feeling right now? We just got 3 MVP packages. I appreciate you, brother. Shout out to One Dark Sooner, another MVP package. I might have made it too low, bro. We got all these guys doing MVPs. Go Dogs. Do you feel Alabama should be? It's only $5 a week if you think about it. It's only $5 a week and an extra $5. You get all your picks. Let's go, Rico. What are your thoughts on Jackson Dart? I love Jackson Dart. Good quarterback. I love his moxie. I was just telling Kim the other day, I love the eye paint on him. I really like Jackson Dart. I'm a big fan of him. Do you feel Alabama should be ranked lower than they are given? No, Levert. I actually think Alabama's better than some teams ahead of them. Like, I think Alabama's better than Notre Dame and Tennessee if they had to play each other. So I don't think it should be lower. They're right where they're at until they prove me wrong, until they start losing more. But right now, I still think they're a juggernaut to try to beat. Right, Samuel Linton. I don't know if Carson Beck will be able to get it done. He looked good. I don't know what's giving you that impression. He looked fine. He threw for almost 300 yards. We'll figure it out. I don't think he's great. I told you guys this. I have Georgia losing 2 games. I don't know to who, but I have them losing 2 games. One in the SEC championship and one in their bowl game because they got no heart. You think Ole Miss is the best team in the West? No. I think Alabama is. Alabama or A&M. What does Alabama need to do to avoid losing to these top teams? Is it force more turnovers, get to the quarterback, or just have better quarterback play? Curious what you have to say. Paul Keenan, it's none of those things. They get beat by offensive schemes. Like, I watched I watched Texas move the chains on screen passes. And the way you deal with screen passes is linebacker and safety speed. And they don't have it. Those guys were getting too much space to make plays. They got a guy. Baxter should not be getting the yards he was getting. Baxter does not look all that impressive to me. Everybody talks about Baxter being a 5-star guy from Texas. It's just Bama's missing some speed in key positions. That's what it is. They need speed in certain positions. Don't worry about the rest. Now, yes, the quarterback played through some picks, all this stuff, but it's really about not allowing 34 points at home. Like, that's what it comes down to. So that's how I feel about it. You'd think this is Billy Napier's last season. It's only his second season. Why would it be his last? That's absurd. You think Trey Harris will be a top-round draft pick? I don't assess draft picks until Wexty. I don't assess draft picks until after the season. So I like him a lot, but I don't do that. Another MVP package. Shout out to Richard DeBeas. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. You think Trey Harris will be a top draft pick. We'll decide. Most wide receivers aren't top draft picks, especially undersized wide receivers. They're not top draft picks. You can be a great wide receiver and not be in the top 10. Do you think Billy Napier is the right coach for Florida, or do you think they should have hired or kept somebody else? Well, Mr. Bird, the only option was to keep Dan Mullen, and all his recruits are gone. So make sense. Billy Napier, they hired him. I don't second-guess hires. I hope he does the best he can with the job he has. I think he's doing well. He's recruiting great. He's got a lot of quitters on his team. He inherited a lot of shit. He inherited a lot of substandard players. That's the reality of the situation. Okay? A 10 says, how hot is Jimbo's seat after that game against Miami? It's not that hot against Miami. It's not that big of a deal. He lost to Miami. It's a good team, and they played well. If you go back and watch the tape, they played well. Just some mistakes that he couldn't overcome. The mistakes they made were not coaching mistakes. Let me make that very clear. The mistakes they made were not coaching mistakes. And until they make coaching mistakes, I can't see how his seat gets any hotter. Okay? So that's right there. I'm just going to be up front with you right now. Colton Keller says, I'm late to the party. What do you think about LSU, MSU? Rewind the show. What are your thoughts on Pete Golding and his impact at Ole Miss? So I don't care who you get on your coaching staff. I don't care what you do for your team. Everything at Ole Miss is because Lane Kiffin is him. I love Lane Kiffin, guys. I think he should be coaching at Alabama when Saban retires. I think he should be coaching at Clemson when they get rid of Dabo. I love Lane Kiffin at any institution. I love what that man does. I love his thought process. He treats the transfer portal like it's a business. He's trying to get his best 11 on the field at all times. I'm cool with Lane Kiffin till the day he's done coaching. Real talk. And I know that's not a hot talk, like a hot take, but it is for me. 10 p.m. Eastern. Oh, the game, Tom Rose, 10 p.m. Eastern. There we go. It starts at 10. We're going to be up all night, y'all. Hit that like button. Thank you, guys. Rico, do you think the Florida-Georgia rivalry game should be moved to the campuses? Yes. Jake T, where the hell do they play? They play in Jacksonville? They play the big world's largest cocktail party in Jacksonville? Some shit like that? Yeah, it should be played at their universities. Come on now. Nobody wants to see that shit anywhere else. Love the live streams. I've learned a lot from you, but what is your opinion on Arkansas? You didn't learn that? They didn't look sharp to me at all. You think they can cover the 8-point spread? Will Tobin, that 8-point spread is problematic. Do I think they can cover it? Yes, they can, but they've been struggling, and I would stay away from it. I wouldn't bet it. You're asking me a possibility. Is it possible? Yes, but I wouldn't bet it. They've looked very underwhelming. Thoughts on Ty Simpson? 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. Heard a lot of Bama fans calling for an answer. Bro, he did not deserve looking for a 5-star. Tyler Hayes, I don't worry about recruiting stars. He hasn't played. I went back and watched the tape. I don't worry about recruiting stars. Apologize. Dylan Perkins says, just wondering what special benefits does the MVP membership have during the offseason? So there's nothing there during the offseason. I haven't even thought of it. Just doing it in season. I can change the price scheme once we get out of season. But what it really comes down to is you have comment priority. If you write a comment, your comment will be read. And I will make private videos about certain things. I can give you updates on the transfer portal. That's what I do best. And my assessment of teams and how they're changing. And if people feel it's worth it, it's worth it. If not, it's not. I'm not too worried about it. For now, that's what it is. Thank you for the question, though, Dylan Perkins. Diego Hernandez. Billy Napier got dog-walked against Utah, and honestly, I hate how Mertz looked against Utah and McNeese State. Thoughts on Florida and Napier's status? So I've already talked about it. I think Florida is going to have a down year. I've been talking about it all offseason. There's nothing they can do about it. They did not get a quarterback in the transfer portal. Mertz doesn't look good because he's not good. But Napier's not coaching wrong. Napier's doing the best he can with what he can. He's trying to implement his system with the players he has, and his players aren't good. They're not going to look good. They're not going to be good. It's okay. Just do another year of good recruiting and get your players in, and maybe next year. Went 10 for 10 on my college pick'ems in your group last week. Wexty, shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. Spread moved like 10 points. Oh, shit. Miami Bethune-Cookman. Yeah, this is why I tell you guys, if I make a comment or we do a take in here, we have so many people watching the videos. We got 1 million people watching my videos every day. I got 1 million people watching the videos every day. We can move the line. People think it's a game. People think it's a joke. When I say, hey, do this, make this play, and then the line moves that day. Oh, Rico, you don't have that kind of movement. You're not doing that. You're not impacting betting lines. Well, everybody who watches my channel goes and makes that bet, the line moves. 10 points, that's a lot of money. That's what makes lines move, guys. Points, not, oh, what does Vegas know? Maybe there's an injury. Maybe there's, no. Lines move because of money. They want to make sure they break even. How do I become a member? You hit the plus sign, hit join down there. If below the live chat, above the details, it says join. You hit join and you become a member. You pick one of the memberships. What's the MVP package? It just gives you all the betting hots. Saturday morning, I'll make a video only for my MVP members. They'll see it, and it'll be all of my takes for the week, all of my locks. And what it'll be is I have videos where I'm not making it on my locks. I have them all written down, put them in order of priority, and talk to you guys about them. Be real with me, Rico. How many more games do you see the Aggies winning this year? You had them going 5-7 before the season, and that seems about right. Trent, if I said 5-7 before the season, what the hell do you think I'm going to do? 5-7 before the season. Shout out to you guys. If you're a member for an extended period of time, the first month you get that little light. It's a little light white wolf. Lee Muirbrook has it next to his name. After 1 month, it'll get darker and darker, and then eventually it turns gold, just so you guys know. You're awesome. Love listening to you, to someone that actually knows sports. Thank you very much, Lee. I try my best. Shout out to you, brother. Connor Pond, do you think Tyler Buckner gets a shot if Jalen Milroe keeps up his bad play? Most definitely. Most definitely. Like you always say, if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. Maybe give it a try. Yeah, maybe give it a try. It's real. Rico, what's good, my brother? Nothing much, man. What's good? Make sure you give them likes. Yep. Who's a transfer quarterback Florida should get next year if Mertz was to leave? Mr. Bird, they shouldn't get one next year if Mertz was to leave. Shout out to Los. Los just became an MVP package member. I appreciate you, Los. Thank you for making my life possible. Who's a transfer quarterback Florida should get next year if Mertz was to leave? They already have recruits coming in. Don't go get another transfer. Stick with your recruits. You got DJ Lagway coming in. Lagway's supposed to be a beast. Let's see what Lagway can do. Hey, Rico, thoughts on LSU at Mississippi State? Feels like an upset spot for MSU. Stingy defense, improved run game, 4-year starter Will Rogers. Already answered that. Rewind the show. Bain Allen says, what do you think of Arkansas's backup quarterback, Jacoby Criswell? So Jacoby Criswell was a great high school quarterback out of Arkansas. Went to North Carolina initially. Was backing up Sam Howell, backing up Drake May. Couldn't break the starting lineup, obviously. Redshirted. You're not going to beat those guys out. And instead of waiting around to see what happens, his offensive coordinator leaves to go to Wisconsin, right? Phil Longo leaves. So once you lose your offensive coordinator and you're not starting, jump in the transfer portal, you come back home. So Jacoby Criswell will be the starting quarterback at Arkansas next year, theoretically. What I've seen on tape from Jacoby Criswell, I really like. I think he's a good player. So I like that kid. I think very highly of him, and I hope he earns his starting job. Hope I answered that question there for you, Alan. Just wanted to explain to everybody who Jacoby Criswell was. Joseph Villalon says, if Texas and A&M played on Saturday, who would win? I'd hope Texas would win. These hypotheticals are ridiculous, but I hope Texas would win. Just so you guys know, Joseph Villalon is a Texas homer, and he asked that question just so he can hear me say Texas wins. Sam Didon says, who knows? Rico knows. You're damn right. Who's winning Tennessee versus Florida? I have Tennessee winning that game and covering the spread. Thank you for asking, Trevor Connor. Sam Didon says, how many interceptions Kirk throwing tonight? 5. Kirk Cousins? Maybe 1. Stay away from that dude who intercepts all the passes. Maybe 1. Alex Safari, impact on Kentucky's defense. So, Bain Allen, when I look at Kentucky's defense, I'm not impressed. I just never think of Kentucky as a defensive team. I'll go back and watch the film. I didn't see much impact. I've watched a hell lot of Kentucky so far. Just trying to understand why they didn't dominate Eastern Kentucky, but I was really studying the offense, so I owe you an answer. Next time I see you, ask again. I got you. Let's be honest. Missouri football hanging on by a thread to any conference that will have them. Steve, the Big 12 will gladly take them. Don't get that twisted. There's rivalries there. There's history. They're fine. They're always going to be in a Power 5 conference. They're happy to be in the SEC, getting all that free revenue and pub and that brainwashing. Why don't you like the NFL? I just don't like what it stands for. I don't like the players. I don't like the scheme and the format. I don't like the fans of the NFL. NFL fans are the worst I've ever experienced. They're toxic. I can't stand them. You ever met a Raider fan? Yeah, they're shit. You ever met a Bears fan? Yeah, a Packers fan, Patriots fan, like any Eagles fan, anybody is very toxic. I can't stand it. Do you think Nico will be starting by the end of the year for the Vols? Daniel Jackson, I said that at the beginning of the year, If Nico is starting, that means Milton is not a pro quarterback. I hope he's not starting. Even in the spring game, when everybody made a big deal out of the throws he was making, I showed film, and I did a film breakdown. He was making poor decisions and made the wrong choice when he threw a good pass that everybody talked about. There was a highlight throw. I was like, look, he made the wrong choice, and I showed it on film. So I'm hoping Nico is redshirting and learning all year, and maybe next year he'll be good. Didn't know if I should ask yesterday or today. Kentucky transfers Vito Tisdale and Cavassier Smoke going to Colorado to get 0 PT. And they transferred late after everyone good already arrived. Yeah, so it happens. Transfers go. They get broken promises. They tell them things, and they try to convince the kids to come in. But remember, every transfer coming in can't get playing time. Some transfers are coming in to be depth. That's just what they're going to be. They're coming in to be depth on a different team and a different culture. Maybe they want a degree from that school. Maybe they want to be on the coaching staff. There's a whole lot of reasons. But, yeah, there's going to be transfers that show up and don't start and don't play. Shout out to Sooner Man. Thank you so much. Sooner Man just got the MVP package. Shout out to him. You make my life possible, brother. I appreciate you. Everybody out there getting an MVP package tonight. You guys, it's going, splendidly well. Kim and I sat down and discussed the business plan and the model, and we weren't sure how to do it, and here we are, and it's going well. And it can only do that with you guys. So thank you so much. Shout out to Marco Luquin. He just did an MVP package as well. We'll make it worth your guys' while. Those picks will count. Hopefully you guys hit and do well. Do not parlay them. Do not parlay them. Hit one at a time and come out on top. Just put $20 on each one. You'll come out on top, I promise. Who's a player at Kentucky you think can break out this year or next? Just Barron Brown. Barron Brown. Get him the ball every single day. That is the best wide receiver. He's one of the best wide receivers in the SEC, too. He's a speed demon. Remember, folks, SEC only. Thank you so much. Steve, how we get MVP package? Can't find it on my YouTube. I'm on mobile. Oh, I don't know on mobile. Hang tight. Rico will explain. I didn't see it on mobile. Shout out to Andres for being the first person ever to get the MVP package. Last warning, SEC today, not SEC, get your boot. I don't know who that is, but Jaso needs to go. Glad to be a member, my guy. Thank you so much, guys. I just joined. What's going on, Rico Fire? What it do, Ryan the Ninja? Do you think Nico will be starting by the end of the year for the Vols? Please don't repeat questions. Here from TikTok. Thank you. Joel's not listening. Shout out to Joel's not listening, coming over from TikTok, being a part of the show. The rest of you guys are talking to each other. SEC only dang gotcha. Yeah, SEC only. Pac-12 is tomorrow. Shout out Kim for that shirt he's wearing. Shout out to Seth. She is the reason I'm wearing this LSU shirt. Everybody thinks I'm an LSU fan. I'm a fan of no teams. I'm a fan of players and coaches. I'm a fan of schemes. And I have never cheered for a team because of their color or who the hell they are or where they're from. But I'm wearing this LSU shirt out of support to my woman. And everybody gives me shit about it. Rico, if you're going to charge, you got to make one video list for members to access. One video list for members to access. If we're going to pay, we should have access to a working doc that adds all information without having to watch every video. Jake Bostic, please do not try to give me tips on how to run my channel, bro. Go run your own channel. You're not a member. You didn't pay. Move the fuck on. I know what I'm doing. You'll see. And if people don't like it, they can stop subscribing. I'll be okay. Dudes just walking in here like they run shit. Jake Bostic, the only thing you run in here is your mouth, bro. Real talk. Show up giving me tips. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You don't think I know how to maximize my brand? You don't think I understand how to run this shit? Did I just get lucky and get here? Can you create something out of nothing? I'm asking, bro. Can you start a TikTok and YouTube channel 4 months ago? My YouTube's 4 months old, bro. Step to me. You don't have a clue what you're doing. Let me give you some advice. Anybody ever take financial advice from a homeless person? How about fitness advice from somebody obese? Anybody? Parenting advice from people who don't have kids? Marriage advice from somebody who's never been married? Then why the hell would I take advice from somebody on how to run my channel if you don't have a channel of your own? How the hell are you giving me advice? It's gross, bro. Stay out the kitchen and don't tell the cook how to cook. Just eat. If you ask the same question more than once, he won't answer. That's a fact. I thought you had Bama at 7-6. No, 7-6 is 13 games, bro. I can't have him at 7-6. I got him at 7-5. Victor K says, Rico, Cal missed 3 field goals, should have won despite it. I agree completely, Victor. Shout out to you. Hey, Victor, thank you for the tip, brother. Steven Schultz says, but I guess he asked if they could win 10 games, so never mind. That's what he asked, if they could win 10 games. Be very specific. Can they win 10? The answer is yes, they can. Right? What makes a coach like Hugh Freeze successful at every stop? You know, Seth, I got to tell you, when certain coaches do well at new teams, people got to understand that it's about fostering culture. Fostering a winning culture is what makes them so great. Now, yes, Hugh Freeze cheated his ass off at Ole Miss, but he fosters a winning culture, and that resonates with his team, and then from there you take off. But I believe a lot of these coaches win in the offseason. It's not game time decision. It's not scheme driven during the game. None of that shit. Hugh Freeze is winning because of his strength and conditioning program, because of his offseason recruiting, because of the structure of his program. It's the same reason Coach Prime wins. It's the offseason approach that I think makes him so successful, because that is the common denominator everywhere he goes, right? It doesn't matter where he goes. He's just great. He's at Liberty and just instantly becomes the best team in that echelon, because that's just the way Hugh Freeze gets down. So I appreciate it. I also think he evaluates talent differently from other coaches, and that's the downfall from a lot of the Jimbo Fisher sucks at evaluating talent. Some coaches got an eye for it. Like me, I sit here, I watch film. There'll be days I'm watching film and I go, that guy's great. And I don't know anything about the player. I'm watching his huddle tape and I go, that guy's great. And then I go look him up and he's got FBS level offers, right? And then I'm watching another kid and I go, oh, he's FCS. And then I go look him up, he's FCS offers. That tells me that my calibration is on point. But let's make it a little more refined. Is that player better than the players on my roster? Is what these coaches have to figure out. Is he better than what we currently have? Is he better than this other person for us? And I think a lot of coaches suffer with just recruiting the top-rated players every year instead of the players that are better than them. It's the NFL draft issue. It's the NFL draft issue. You are only drafting players based on their rank and their position, and you're not evaluating whether or not that player is better than the guys we got on our roster. Because if you were, you wouldn't have drafted him, and we wouldn't have to cut these damn fifth-round draft picks. There's certain teams finding seventh-round starters on their team, and other teams are having to cut fourth and fifth rounders. You did it wrong. You were just ranking the players against each other, right? I need you to figure out whether or not that guy's good enough to be on our team. I can't pick up a guy if he's not better than everybody we got. Shout out to Damon. Damon, thank you so much for joining us. Damon just became a Rico's minion. Shout out to Damon. If that's the same Damon from TikTok, I love you, brother. Shout out to you. Cool. But I guess he could have missed this. My bad. Rico, does LSU consider a quarterback's change if they lose this week? No. I don't think Daniels is bad, but a loss at MSU trigger given more talented deep ball passer more warranted. So here's the thing. Tyler McNamee. These receivers are dropping passes, bro. It ain't even about Daniels and whether or not they need to bring in what's his face. Forgetting his name right now. You guys know his name. Mussinger? What's his name? I forget his name. The backup. I don't like that. I don't like not knowing it off the top of my head. You guys know what I mean. It starts with an M. Oh, that's frustrating. Anyways, it doesn't matter, though. The receivers can't catch the ball. That's the reality of the situation. Nussmeier. My bad. Nussmeier. Ugh. I said M, N. Too many names in my head, y'all. 20,000 names. Let's go. Daniel Jackson says, what's up, Rico? So it doesn't matter. I don't think Jaden Daniels should be benched. No, it's not his fault. Rico, do you think Heupel has been keeping it overly simple the first 2 weeks, or is Milton wide receivers not clicking at the level of Tillman, Hyatt, Hooker were early last season? It's what I told everybody all offseason. I told everybody Milton is not Hooker. Hooker went out and did some insane touchdown to interception ratio. He had great chemistry with Jalen Hyatt. You don't have those things. Like, you don't have the deep threat that you thought you had. That man was running 24 miles per hour. You don't have that. It's just a different offense. It's not the same. They're not going to look the same. They're not going to be as explosive. They're not going to have the same winning margins. It's not that easy. They're going to be a run-oriented team. Watch. They're going to be a run-oriented team. It's going to be ugly. How do you like Auburn this season? I like Auburn. They're 2-0. I love their coaching staff. I like all their players from the transfer portal. I like them, but they're not going to win a whole lot. They're going to be competitive in their losses. That's what matters. Be competitive in your losses, win in the recruiting battles, and hit the transfer portal again. Do an offseason with Hugh Freeze, and you'll win. I can't see the membership tab on your page, Rico. AJ Reed, everybody else can see it. They're hitting it. Bane Allen, it just says join. There's no membership tab. You just hit join. That's all I know. It just says join. What's Kenyatta Goodwin doing now after he left Kentucky, then Florida? I actually don't know. He's a big guy. He was all potential anyways. He wasn't very good at football, but I don't know what's happened to him as we speak. So I appreciate the question. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer. Seth, Tennessee only being a 6-point favorite, does that say more about Tennessee or about Florida or Tennessee's performance? It says more about people putting money. Remember this. The way favorites are derived and the way the spread lasts throughout the week, it's all determined on how much money is being bet on each team. Like, guys, Vegas isn't some mind readers. Vegas isn't a bunch of dudes sitting around going, oh, yeah, when you go to the swamp, you don't win there. And that's worth 3 points. And then being at home is worth another 3. And then, no, that's not how it works. Like, the initial line is set based on the team's performance or whatever. Then people start putting money on each team. And the more money you put on a team, the more it will impact the spread. And that's it. It's just math because Vegas can't afford to lose. So Vegas will adjust the spread to make sure that if this bet hits, it doesn't hit that much to where they don't lose as much. But if it hits the other way, they don't lose as much. They just minimize their losses with the spread. It's how it's done. So when you see it stay at 6 all week, that tells you people are actually putting money on Florida. I'm telling you, put money on Tennessee. They're going to cover this spread and beat them. People are going, no, Florida at home, they're tough. Rivalry game, Florida at home, I like that 6 points. I'm taking it. And that's why the line doesn't move. Shout out to them. What's up, Rico? You think Nico is going to be starting by the end of the year? Thanks for rewinding the show. Who do you like tonight, Guru? Been riding the wave. Ain't no way I'm switching up your friends. Don't know, but Rico knows. Go. Shout out to you, Desmond Epps. So tonight, who's playing tonight? Memphis is going to beat Navy by more than 14. That's what everybody's saying. I believe that. I'll go with that. Navy looks terrible, and Memphis looks really good. Watch Seth Hennigan. Seth Hennigan's a good quarterback. He's a good player. The NFL game, I have no idea who's winning that game. Obviously, the Eagles look much better than the Vikings after losing in the first week. I'm pulling for Kirk Cousins, but obviously the Eagles should probably win that game. And then Miami, Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman's got themselves a JUCO quarterback coming in. I don't think he'll be able to throw on Miami at all. I said take the spread. The spread's huge now. It used to be 41. But if it's in the 50s, stay away. Take the over. Bethune-Cookman might score, but I don't know. They didn't score much against Memphis to start the season. Memphis beat the break. No, was it Memphis? Who was it at the beginning? They didn't score against somebody. No, it was Memphis. They lost like 57-14, but it was 2 defensive touchdowns, not offense. Got out of work crazy late. Shout out to you, Matt. Seth, so he's basically saying the SEC is the conference of transfers. No, I'm just saying study where players come from. Why are you saying Colorado by 50? I'm quoting what Twitter has trending right now, Colorado by 50. Colorado's just emotional right now. That's all. Cheryl C., you're awesome with your content. Who's Cheryl C.? I don't know who Cheryl C. is. 2014 TCU team got historically jobbed. There you go, Talbot. 2011 OK State got screwed because of SEC bias. 100% Corey Free. Wow, Rico dropping truth bombs. Thank you very much, Real Sports History. UPR says, Rico, who do you like to score this week in the SEC? Who do you like to score this week? I don't even know what you mean. Like score touchdowns? I don't do prop bets, man. I don't know much about prop bets. I'm going to have to do some research on the prop bets with all these MVP guys. I'll throw in one prop bet on Saturday morning. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'll find one, I guess. I've never done research on them. I don't know who's going to score. The fans are scoring. Matt says, got out of work crazy late, just checking in. Get those likes up for Ash. Thanks for taking care of Rico. Kim, what's up, Top? Respect. What up, Matt? At ease. Real Sports History. So the year ESPN's deal runs out, conference realignment happens, right? Yes. 2023, the deal runs out after 15 years. Conference realignment happens. All of a sudden, teams are equivalent. Oh, by the way, we got the contract to the Big 12. We got the TV contract to the Big 12, ESPN does. Watch the propaganda. Watch the Big 12 get all the praise in the coming years. Watch the Big 12 be respectable because of TV contracts with ESPN. Shout out to them. College football, SEC. Why do SEC teams struggle so much with their away games outside of Dixie? You gotta play a game outside of your home stadium. Why are these games so rare? What are they afraid of? They're so good. No, it's not about that. It's not about being so good. It's about shared revenue, gate stream. You want to host a home game. It's about making money. It's about revenue. It's no big deal. He doesn't miss. Thank you. When those smaller schools get a chance on the big stage for it all, they fold against SEC teams. So, Fresco vibes. Not necessarily. Everybody ignores when the SEC teams lose. Like this last bowl season. All those teams got a chance to play SEC teams, and you ignored it. You chalked it up as they don't care. But I watched Iowa shut out Kentucky. I watched Florida get murdered by Oregon State, 33-30, 33-3. They lost by 30 points. Those are the same two teams you're seeing this season. Oregon State would beat Florida right now by 30 because they lost 20 transfers before the bowl game. Well, guess what? They're not going to have those guys. They're not on the team anymore. It's the same team you just saw. And Oregon State's just as good. I watched Texas Tech beat the brakes off of Ole Miss in a bowl game. Brakes off of them. Like, it wasn't even close. Lane Kiffin had to, complain about some shit about pregame racial slurs or something. It was crazy. Like, the SEC is getting smoked everywhere. Missouri went to triple overtime against Kansas. But they want to tell you the middle of the SEC is better than other conferences, and it's not. It's three teams at the top that don't get to play against the other great teams. The minute you see an equivalently talented team play an SEC power, that's Ohio State versus Georgia. That's Ohio State versus Georgia. But what ESPN will do is will subconsciously trick all of you. You won't even realize it. ESPN's ensuring they get Alabama in the national championship. How? Well, they'll go out there on TV every day and advocate for Cincinnati to be a playoff team. For weeks, they're going to tell you Cincinnati's in the playoffs. Cincinnati's undefeated. Make them the 4 seed. Cincinnati. And they just keep doing that shit. Every day. It'll be on the debate shows. It'll be on this show. It'll be on that. And all of a sudden, you see the playoff matchup, and it's Alabama, Cincinnati. And a blowout. It's embarrassing. They have a bowl agreement, partnership, where they pair up the SEC team with a Big 12 team. So then they get to say, oh, look, we beat the conference champ of the Big 12. Well, the Big 12 is not nearly as talented as the Big 10, as the Pac-12. But you don't have those bowl agreements with them. You just ignore them. So it's 1 or 2 games every year where you have to beat the opposition, and it's a coin flip. But remember, the deck is stacked. It's not equivalent because for the last 15 years, those SEC teams have been getting a recruiting advantage from the $2 billion you gave them. They've been winning. They get the better players coming out of high school. These poor kids don't know any better. They're gray shirting to play at Bama. They sign up to go, and they're gray shirting, and they're not even on the team till January. They don't count against this year's scholarships. It's next year's. Now, the transfer portal doesn't allow for any of that shit. You don't want to play a kid, he's bouncing. He's hitting the transfer portal. 20 kids leaving Bama this year. You don't think Bama wanted all that depth? Rico, it doesn't matter. There's 20 kids that weren't playing. Really? Trayshawn Holden had 6 touchdowns. Christian Leary, JoJo Earl. You guys don't understand what's happening because your only news source is ESPN. That's why you don't know. That's why you don't have a clue what the hell's happening. But all those teams lost, and nobody said shit. Are you kidding me? Florida State beat LSU last year to start the season, and nobody talked about it at all. And in the final poll, Florida State 19th LSU 12th. They had the same record. They played each other head-to-head. Florida State beat them. Kirby Smart's going in there putting 12 and 19. Oh, Kirby Smart doesn't do the poll, Rico. Yes, he does. He does his final poll and his first poll. No, he doesn't. SIU does it. Bruh, shut up. They want to make sure they're ranked by the end of the year. They want to make sure they're ranked all off season. So they go and rank these guys. And then ESPN will put out an FPI. What is an FPI? Football Power Index, Rico. Football Power Index just came out. Oh, yeah, what's it say? Oh, Florida. Florida's in the top 25. Football Power Index. What? How? I just watched them lose by 30 to Oregon State. Oh, Oregon State's in the 50s. And you got to fight that up at it. But, dude, 13 SEC teams got votes in the preseason poll. 13. It's gross. The amount of influence and the fact that you inflate win-loss records with 8 conference games, it impacts strength of schedule. It impacts overall record. It impacts bowl eligibility. It impacts revenue. All of this is just a huge concoction of nonsense. And unfortunately, you just have very unintelligent people that are fans of teams in the South. They just put on blinders and go, we won. We won. We won it all. We won it all. It's like, bro, you don't understand. ESPN is a boxing promoter. And they have a fighter who's really good, Mike Tyson over here. And they got him fighting all these bums all season long. And then they get to the title game, and they go, all right, we'll fight you one time. Oh, we won. Okay, next year. Oh, we're not going to fight you. But you're never fighting Lennox Lewis. You're never fighting Evander Holyfield. You're just fighting all these other guys, and you're the champ. It's boxing promoters ensuring you don't fight the wrong guy. ESPN ensures you don't play the wrong team. You don't get to fight the wrong guy. We're going to make sure that a 12-1 ACC champ is valued more than a 12-1 Big 12 champ. So TCU and Baylor are world beaters, have one loss each. They're not as good as Clemson. And they're going to convince you of that with preseason polls, with every talk show they do. Now it's just Clemson and Alabama in the title 3 years in a row. Do you understand that it doesn't matter if they're the 2 best teams in America? This is what ESPN wants. They own the ACC network and the SEC. They own both conferences. They love an all ESPN final. It's gross. Why are they so sensitive? I don't know, man. They look like taints. Just saying. He doesn't miss. If Juju Lewis left high school right now, you think he would start at Bama? No. Juju Lewis is little. I need you guys to see Juju Lewis in person. He's little. Juju Lewis is not ready yet. No. Teach Professor Rico breaking down the macro business control power structure of the whole. Respect, True King Research. Thank you so much. But more importantly, understand, guys, this is just sports manipulation, sports propaganda. But this shit happens in politics. This shit happens in every walk of life. Okay? Every walk of life. But it's really aggravating that it's happened to such a pocket of the population that is so adamant. We're the best, and that's all they ever say, and they've never sat down and analyzed, how did that happen? Like, how did USC stop winning national titles? How did Texas become irrelevant? How did all these other conferences just fade away? Think of the late 90s, early 2000s. What changed? $2 billion is what changed. $2 billion. Can you please give me your evaluation? I did. Shout out to you for the MP package. Thanks again, Kenneth Rubin. When people say it means more in the South, I think they're talking about the culture of the fan base and the support for the team, not the players for the team's home state. So, Bane Allen, I don't believe that at all. And the reason I don't believe that at all is Nebraska has the most sellouts. There are rabid fans in Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. The fans of Oregon love their team. There's no way you can go to Texas and tell me it means more in some other state. Like, I just don't buy that. It means more to everybody. It means something to everybody. It means more in the South, but not in January. Because if they're playing in a bowl game and it's not the national championship, they magically don't care anymore. It's bullshit. It means more in the South, but not to Tulane, ULM, South Alabama, UAB, Troy, UCF, FIU, South Florida. Why doesn't it matter to them? They're in the South. Georgia State, Georgia Southern. They're in the South. Why don't they get to brag and say they got all the greatest players? And why doesn't it matter to them? They're in the recruiting hotbed of all the greatest players. Why can't they beat Montana? Or why can't they beat Wyoming? It's gross. Rico, who scores this week in the SEC? I don't understand what you're saying. But, of course, it varies because their fan base is all over. Support hard. Lego, what up? True. New member and glad to have found out about your channel. Take care. Thank you so much, Richard Tobias. I've never seen your name before, but I do greatly appreciate you, brother. Rico Knows. No way. Primetime Kirk. Chat just jumped. I'm going back up. Give me a second, y'all. Is dinner made, babe? It smells amazing. What's that? It's still cooking. We got 20 minutes, y'all. Let me get back up here. Oh, no. Where did chat go? Primetime Kirk. Kirk Cousins. Don't worry about what time of day it is. Don't believe none of that shit. Joel's not listening. Is trying to hate on Kirk Cousins because it's afternoon. Kirk Cousins is a Spartan dog. Yes, he is. MVP package button on the homepage of the account isn't showing up. What am I missing? Victor, nothing. You got it eventually. Dial the flow. Hey, Rico, what do you think of Cody Schrader for Mizzou? Surprised he's still splitting carries with Pete. So, if you guys don't know, Schrader's the running back for Missouri, and he looks great. I'm not surprised he's splitting carries. Keep the tread low on the tires, or don't push them too hard. I got the analogy backwards, right? Leave some tread on those tires. But I like Cody Schrader as a runner. He looks good. Looks good on film. If you guys ever watch Missouri play football, don't be surprised when you see that running back. You'll be like, whoa, he's got burst. He's a good player. Rico's mad. I'm never mad. Animals get mad. I get upset. Y'all like that? You like that, huh? There you go. Victor K. Look at the join button next to subscribe button. Options will pull up. There you go. My friends don't know, but I know. What up, Frank Hernandez? Victor K. says, thanks, Steve. Was looking for the tab per his video about it I saw. Oh, my bad about the video. It doesn't look like that. If Tennessee struggles on offense because of Milton, do you think we'll see Nico this year? Rewind the show. Lane Parlays. Do you think Ole Miss's defense will be good this year compared to last year's? And how many wins do you see for them this year? Hotty toddy. So Lane Parlays. I actually really like Ole Miss this year. Unfortunately, the defense is just like Frankenstein. It's a bunch of guys who don't know each other, right? And they're not coming together the way I had envisioned. They have a kid named Ukwu. I want to see him getting sacks and everything. But we're going to know this week. What a great question. What a fascinating question. But we're going to know this week because they play in Georgia Tech. And they're like an 18-point favorite, something like that, 18, 19-point. And I think Georgia Tech's going to cover this spread. But if Georgia Tech doesn't cover the spread, it will be because of the Ole Miss defense. So we're about to find out. I know they got players. I love their players. Love the transfer portal and love what they do. We're going to find out this week, though. Thank you for the question, though. I think that they can win. Oh, how many games can they win? Well, they can beat Georgia Tech. So they already got 2 wins, right? 3, 4, 5, 6. They're guaranteed 6 wins. I could see them going as high as 10. Guaranteed 6, as high as 10. Shout out to them. Thank you so much. Just saw a super chat here. Give me a second. T-Zim. Shout out to T-Zim. Welcome to the Rico Knows MVP package. You guys are making my life possible. Shout out to Handsome Huss. Handsome Huss says, appreciate the locks, Rico. Forever have a fan in me, my guy. Hey, there it is. To all the haters out there, the proof is in the statistics. Your friends may not know, but Rico knows. Rico for president 2024. I don't want to be the president, y'all. Half the country hates you. Half the country loves you. I'll stick with what we got. Thank you so much for the tip, brother. That super chat helps pay my bills, keeps this going, enables me to do this as a profession. We can all do this collectively. You guys are helping me. But I'm also giving my knowledge, sharing my knowledge, and giving you my takes. If you bet correctly, responsibly, and you utilize the information I'm giving you to make your own decisions, I think you'll come out on top. Some people are complaining, bitching, and moaning that they missed something. Here's what they're doing. They're going and watching one video, seeing the word lock on it, and just betting on that one game and done. They just look for locks, bet, and go. They're not watching the show, and they're not learning about the teams. And if you sit, watch the content, hang out with us for 2 hours a night, you can go back and watch it at 1.25 speed. You can watch it at 1.5 speed. After hours, just let the shit play. It's better than anything you're about to listen or watch. And you'll learn a ton. If your money matters to you that much, watch the show. Anybody goes, I don't have 2 hours to watch you. Well, then you don't have the money to be losing. You ain't got to watch me for 2 hours. You can put it 1.5. Watch me for an hour and a half and call it a day. Shout out to you, Handsome Huss. I really appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. That brought a smile to my face. I like that, sweetie. Tyler Zimmerman, the packages are listed in the join button. Rico Knows channel. Thank you very much. Thoughts on Mississippi State versus LSU possible upset? There's a possible upset there. I still think LSU should be the better team. They should show out. But I can see Mississippi State being senior Latin team, great defenders, at home, got a good quarterback, got a good thing going. It'll be a low-scoring game. But I'm hoping Mississippi State slugs it out and gets it done. We'll see what happens. I like it. I like Mississippi State. I'm not calling it like that, but I like it. I like an upset there. The best team in the West is still going to get stomped by Georgia. One dark sooner. It's all about matchups, man. It's all about matchups. We'll see whoever they're playing. We'll see if Georgia's even in that game. How do I join? Hit the join button. Richard DeBias, thank you so much. Oh, let me go back and give a shout-out to Victor and One Dark Sooner. Just want to give you guys a shout-out again. We got 15 minutes left in the show. Do you think I should take Gators with the under this week? No, Eli Sherman. The under sounds believable, but I wouldn't take Gators personally. Gardner, go to his page on here. You'll see next to the sub button. Thank you. Chances Florida rehires Urban Meyer. None? I think Urban Meyer's trying to get that Texas job. I think Urban Meyer's trying to get that Texas A&M job. I really think Urban Meyer's trying to get hired for Texas A&M or Texas. And it all started with the image repair documentary, The Swamp Kings, that fluff piece, that bullshit, that bull snarky. Shout out to Los once again for the MVP package. Hey, Rico, what are your thoughts and predictions on Sam Howell? Hope he plays well. That's it. My predictions are he's going to lose every single conference game or every single division game because they're the worst team in the division. But I like Sam Howell. Hey, Rico, hope you're having a good day, bro. What do you think about Ole Miss is ceiling? Ole Miss is ceiling 10 wins. Give me 10 wins for Ole Miss. I like them a lot. Maybe Ole Miss can win the SEC. I like SEC. I like Jackson Dart. I love their coach. Darius Pearson, yesterday you said we were coached by other guys, quote unquote. I was coached by former Oregon and Redskins defensive back Mo Oliver. That's what he taught. Google does too. Do specific offenses switch odds, evens, and in and out? So, Darius Pearson, I don't know about specific offenses. I'd imagine it's an offensive coordinator's prerogative. But the vast majority of film that I break down when I talk with other players and I break down stuff, that is what I am 100% accustomed to, is evens out, odds in. And you want to be consistent and persistent with the whole thing. So if you stay consistent with it, when you get to your post in your corner, it has to coincide with your 1 and your 2. And a 2 is a 5 and an out. A 3 is a quick slant for me. So if I'm saying 3 is a quick slant, that immediately means my post has to be a 7 or a 9. And it has to be in, right? A deep dig is my 9, by the way. But it all depends on your coordinator. If I had a group of receivers, I'm going to teach them my route tree, and they'll know it for the rest of their lives, and then they'll teach it, right? And this is what we're coming down to is it spreads. That's why it's a coaching tree. So you come from a specific tree, that's how you coach it. Shout out to you. One Dark Sooner says, what are your thoughts on Auburn? I feel like they look decent, but they have a rough schedule coming up. Yeah, they look decent. I love Auburn. They got a hell of a climb ahead of them. I have Auburn, if I'm being honest, I have Auburn, when I evaluated new coaching hires, I have Auburn winning 6 games. Right there. Hugh Freeze, number 4, winning 6 games. That's what I had before the season started. Same as Colorado. I have Colorado winning 6 games. I had Auburn winning 6 games. I can be wrong. Obviously, they can come out and do better things or do worse. But that's what I said before the season started with the information I had at the beginning of the season. I'm pretty sure I'm more accurate than anybody else giving preseason predictions on records. Let me say that. If you go back and look at those over-under bets that all the guys, when they had Colorado at 3.5, and I was like, no, they're not going to be 3. And they said, Rico, it's 4.5 now. I don't give a shit what it is. I got them at 6 or 7. I got them at 6, winning their bowl game to 7. I think I was a lot closer than any of the experts or gambling apps out there. What chat is he reading, or is he just hella behind? Die Flow, I am always going to be hella behind. That is the strategy. That is what I do. I do not read TikTok chat at all. Trey, that is the wrong answer. I only read YouTube. I intentionally go behind by about 35 minutes. I do my monologue to start. Shout out to 67 Eddie B. Thank you so much for the MVP package. We got you, man. You guys will get your MVP only video in the coming days. It's going to be popping. I got you guys. He doesn't read TikTok chat. Thank you so much. How does KJ Jefferson do against BYU? BYU's got a good defense. And as long as KJ Jefferson does not have a running back, it can be problematic. I still think Arkansas wins the game, but BYU is stout on defense. They're annoying. Thank you, Steve. Rico Maji, what up, Black Moans? You should have more clout considering your knowledge. We're working on it, man. We're working on it one at a time. D. Reglio says, Raider fans, yeah, we hella toxic. Ugh. Shout out to Sooner Man for the package. Pause. Max Kramer says, is Alabama going to cover this week? It's a big spread, but I think they're covering. It's one of my things. I believe they're covering. I'm wondering who your college football team is. I see you in an LSU shirt on. Stro, I don't have a team. I wear shirts because I don't like to be topless on film. Preston Correa, have you already talked about how Milton rewind the show? Shout out to Marco Luquin, MVP package. What up, brother? Thank you so much. WTF is an MVP package. Brandon DeBrand. Still can't find the package. That's what she said. The package. All you got to do is hit join down there. It's underneath the chat. Hit join. Heads up. Join button is not on mobile yet from what I saw. Okay, it takes time for it to show up on mobile. Check on desktop if possible. If not, wait a day or two. It should show up. Oh, I didn't know that, Dark Sooner. Thank you very much. So is it $25 a month? It is $25 a month to get my picks, to get my locks. You'll get them Saturday morning. Brandon, I'm an MVP. Just join up. I'm also going to put out locks on Tuesday. I'm going to try if I got time. Who's the best offensive player in the SEC? I think it's Lane Kiffin. The best offensive play caller in the SEC? Let me think. Lane Kiffin. Yeah, I love Lane Kiffin's play calling. He's great. Everything about him. I'm cool with Lane Kiffin. Rico gets offended so easily. Trey is uninformed on what offends me. I don't get offended, bro. I don't like people giving me tips. I don't like people assessing me or trying to help my channel out. You didn't help me build this. You don't tell me shit, bro. That's just how I get down. We're not cut the same, bro. You and me. Like Trey. Your name is Trey, but I would take your lunch money. Like, we're just not cut the same. Just letting you know. Why do you respond to the haters? I get paid. I get paid to respond to haters and supporters. It's all the same. Do you think Ole Miss will still win and be successful once conference play starts? I hope so, Cooper Hoskins. I believe in them. I was discouraged by what happened with Tulane, so they need to keep winning, but yes. Brandon DeBrand says, why will I join something I don't know what it is? Dude, are you nuts? No, I'm not nuts. The fact that you don't know what it is means you don't watch the content. I put a video out on TikTok with all the information on it. What you're saying doesn't really resonate with me. Brandon DeBrand, please don't join. Thoughts on Tommy Rees? Not a big fan of Tommy Rees. And who do you like best as Bama quarterback? Bama's best quarterback, I like Eli Hosteen. He's on the bench right now. Eli Hosteen, he's a freshman. I like Eli Hosteen the best out of all the quarterbacks at Bama. There you go. Not a fan of Tommy Rees. Bobby Albright says, I already placed it, so it's not gambling advice, but how do you feel about Bama first half, 19.5? Seems like a lock. 19.5 first half? Oof. That's rough. I don't know if we get there in the first half. 3 touchdowns? Seems like a lock. Good luck. Who do you think is the best corner in the SEC? I do not evaluate corners until after the season, Matt Dubb. I let them all play this season before I evaluate them. So I apologize if I don't have an answer there for you. 8 minutes left. Nussmeyer, thank you for correcting me. Shout out to Damon. Welcome to Rico's Minions. I got a new member? No, it's Eddie. Thank you so much, Eddie. Bane Allen says, Rico, what's the schedule for 90s hip-hop trivia? You know, Kim and I talked about that before we got on the show today, and she said she had a lot of fun with it. I had fun with it. Unfortunately, those are my prime hours to make content and make my money. So maybe we'll do it once a month or something. Not every week, not every day. But I appreciate you. For those of you who stuck around for the after party, after the show yesterday, we did music trivia on TikTok, and I just played 90s hip-hop and R&B, and not just 90s, to early 2000s as well. And I let these guys try to name the songs as fast as possible for points. It was pretty cool. Great idea. I feel like some of these fools could use some culture. Steve, it was pretty fun. Alan, I found out about Kenyatta Goodwin. He's taken the year off from football. His mom just got admitted into hospice. That's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. That man might go there next. He's a very large man. I hope he gets in shape and works pretty hard all offseason. Wesley Productions. Does Logan Diggs play a major role in LSU's offense starting this week? He did 100 yards against an FCS school in Grambling. I don't see how he plays a major role. I haven't seen it. It'd be surprising to me if he became a focal point of the offense. I believe it's a running back by committee. Braken says, Rico, did you see that high school kid from Florida that beat the other kid with his helmet? Thoughts? No, I did not see that. Big 12 questions get answered Wednesday. Yes, they do. Sup, Rico? What up, Lonnie Jameson? Matt Dubb says, who's the best corner in the SEC? Please don't repeat your questions. Rico knows, but I'm from the future. I won't give you the Willie Bobo. What up, Willie Bobo? Willie Bobo is my number one fan. So shout out to him. K-State beast Mizzou by 21. Jared Waite, I hope so. Nobody remembers App State beating A&M last year. I do, Steve. I do. It was great. A Hail Mary by Chase Bryce that actually fell short, got tipped, and then it was caught and they scored. Yep, I remember it. I can tell you who threw it. I can tell you everything about it. Don't mess with me, Steve. I'm another animal. Thanks for asking. Bane Allen says, Kentucky played a third-string quarterback in the bowl game and didn't have 3 other NFL draft picks for the games. Bane Allen, I don't care. If you're so deep, you've had so many recruiting classes ranked in the top 25, everybody tells me how deep your team is. Everybody tells me who you got. It's a brag fest. The guys on our bench are better than anything you got. Are you shitting me? You got shut out. Shut out against Iowa, bro. You look worse than South Dakota State. South Dakota State played Iowa, and they scored points. An FCS team. There's not a player on an FCS team that should be able to make the Kentucky team. It's bullshit. Arkansas versus Kansas, Rico. Missouri would never. My bad. I was talking too fast. You know I was talking too fast. Chat just jumped on me. Give me a second here. This is why I just watched Rico Knows. Shout out to you, Willie Bobo. Appreciate you. 4 minutes left. Perfect analogy of ESPN to the boxing promoter, and now they have ESPN bets. Exactly. Shout out to Real Sports History for paying attention and learning something tonight. I appreciate that, man. Where do you put Ole Miss in your SEC rankings? Near the top, Lane Parlays? Near the top. If I was doing SEC rankings, Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, LSU, they're all in that same realm. They're up there in the upper echelon. They're above the others. I like it. Matt be biased. I don't know who Matt is. Rocket Sanders update. I don't know. Is he injured? I'm not the update guy. I don't know. Can't find it either. Thoughts on Memphis versus Navy, minus 13 spread. Do you see that minus 13? It was 14. When it goes down like that, that means more people are putting money on Navy. More people are putting money on Navy for this. I still like Memphis. It's tonight's game. It's okay, Steve. It's tonight's game. They can talk about tonight's game. Damn, you guys been deleting people talking about tonight's game? Stop that. I can't find the subscriptions. Hit join. Eddie, you found it. Taylor Trapp. There you go. Appreciate it. You need to look for it on the desktop, not on iOS. SEC's dominance is over thanks to the transfer portal. They can't trick kids to sit on the bench for 3 years. Very true. They can now transfer out and start at other schools outside the SEC. Praise the Lord. Saban is so mad. Also remember the coaches, the assistants go and get hired in other places, and they become relevant, right? So like Elko was a defensive coordinator at A&M. He's now got Duke on the map, right? Your assistant's going to go and put another team on the map. Who you got in the Tennessee versus Gator game? Watch my content. Outstanding content. Thank you so much. It's an iPhone issue on other channels too, the join button. Robert, he said Tennessee. Thank you guys for joining. Zimmerman and Handsome Huss. Got 3 minutes left. Here we go. That was the first one from Handsome Huss. Thank you so much, man. Who do you have going to the SEC championship game? I'm thinking Ole Miss and Georgia. Sharkalato, if you knew my channel and know what I'm about, I don't try to guess who's going to championship games. I just talk about when they get there. I do not try to predict who's going to be there. I still think it's going to be Bama and Georgia. Does LSU cover the Mississippi State game? Everybody is assuming they do. I don't know. I wouldn't bet on this game. But if you were going to take an underdog, take Ash, because she just got camera time. What up, mamas? Hey, beautiful. Yep. If you're a member, you can do the bark emoji. I don't know how to do the emojis, but there's a bark emoji, and that's anytime Ash shows up on cam, we want a bark emoji out there. You guys put it in chat. Does LSU cover the spread? Hey, Rico, love your knowledge. I would tip you, but I'm broke college kid who needs the money for your locks. From your locks, haha. Hey, T. Suffin, don't ever tip if you don't have the money, bro. I don't need the money more than you. Don't ever tip if you don't have the money. I'll be okay. Don't worry about it. I appreciate you being here and your support. You want to support me? You want to tip me? When you go to bed at night, just let my videos play. Just push play on my YouTube channel and let the videos play. I get paid every time you guys watch an ad. So watch the hell out of some ads. I respect the research. Mississippi by 6. Thank you so much, Brandon on C. Do you think Ole Miss covers against Georgia Tech? I don't. I think Georgia Tech's going to cover that spread. How to join? Hit the button on computer. You think Colorado State will score against Colorado? Yes, James Horse Chief. Yes. I think they will score at least 3 touchdowns. Colorado State's a good team. They got good receivers. They can score. He said they have big playability. Yep. Hey, Rico, which Colorado receiver do you see going over 100 yards? Xavier all day. That's the only guy you can go with. He's Xavier Weaver is the consistent guy that's going to go over 100. I can't join on my phone. Damn. No, not yet. Rico, any thoughts on Idaho versus Cal this week? Will another team fall to the FCS? No. Cal's very good. Cal's good. Idaho's strength is passing the ball. You cannot pass the ball on Cal. Cal's got a good defense. Ask Auburn. You think Idaho's got a team like Auburn? No. Cal's a good team. Cal's going to be all right. I don't see them losing that game. All right, so we hit 7 o'clock. I'm going to go through and look for only super chats or people's chats, colorful chats, member chats. So, Victor, the massive player shuffling Auburn is doing will hurt them later in the year for sure. Guys need to get used to playing with each other. Victor, they're practicing with each other. 60 minutes on a Saturday, don't change that. They're practicing with each other. They'll be okay. They'll figure it out. They're just trying to find the right formula. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Thank you, guys. Sorry I couldn't read everybody's questions and comments tonight. We got pretty close. I tried my best. Thank you guys for being here. Remember, support the channel. Hey, I'm so impressed with the support of the channel and all you guys getting the memberships. We didn't expect that tonight. It was an experiment, and it went well. Now I just got to create the content like I owe you guys something. Remember, your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you. I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
I do this for the kids who sit a bit outside the mix, who maybe cope through humor just to fit in for a bit, who never let the world know when depression's setting in. To all of those who know you, that impression don't exist, and it ain't counterfeit, it's just a way to counter it. I'm living things I dreamed about, I still encounter it. It ain't something that